So, Elena, it's time. We're almost 2 hours in. You better bring up whatever you want.
Okay, let's do the
Finish it
final
up
two.
in
I
15
know.
minutes to 30 minutes. So I'm bringing this back on.
I'm bringing it.
I'm being the discipline guy here.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. We need it. Yes, we need the discipline. All of us, right? Okay, here, another account. Prioritizing faith, racial justice, women's, and how do I even say that without getting us in too much trouble here? Right?
Bang, bang control.
Then, okay. Rainbow rights, gun control, and then healthcare, education is a human right, and not having kids. Okay, David, what did you think about this one?
Okay, well, this one told me exactly what kind of person she was from the get-go. And that was almost, I almost appreciated that because I'm like, okay, well, I can obviously tell I have no interest in you whatsoever as a human being, because I could already tell this is a woman who claims she was a Christian, but I could tell that she placed the world's view of what is a Christian over what actually the Bible says. And so I could look at this and I could go, okay, she's living a worldly life with some vague justifications saying that it is more than that. It is a godly life. And I'm looking at this going, okay, healthcare and education is a human right. A human right means that you should have access to it at all times in any cases. But the way I see that is if you are demanding the labor of another human being and access to it at any time, that in effect is a demand towards slavery. It's the okay, I demand the right to have a teacher teach me.
Yeah.
There's me. Like, we're not even talking about children. Of course, this girl says she doesn't want children, which is a whole other can of worms. But it's the I demand the right to have someone spend their time interacting with me. And that is inherently selfish and also a demand towards the time of someone else, which is in effect slavery. It's I own your time because I believe it's a human right.
Entitlement, yeah.
So that already tells me something, some key parts of her personality and how she sees the world. Now, also not having kids, we can talk about all of the downsides of having children. But in the end of the day, what that tells me about her is that her view of children is not necessarily the potential problems. It's the children will cramp my lifestyle.
Oh, like she just wants the resources, right? She doesn't really want to share your resources with the kids.
Or not even that. It's the, and they might dress it up in some sort of ideological mishmash of ideas saying that, well, the world we live in is so terrible that having children would be harmful to them by default. I've seen that. The anti-natalism thing is most likely what's driving this particular person. It's not that, if you're in a marriage and you have kids and that kid can be used against you in a court of law, that's a separate issue from this. This is having a kid is abuse towards that child.
Well, of course, because we have climate change.
Exactly. It's that. So all these ills in the world would be destructed towards the child.
People,
I just don't want to have.
Yeah, people use resources, and that hurts Gaia. And we can't have hurting the earth. The earth is sacred. So we can't have that. And don't you know, there's too many people in the world. We have a population explosion.
No, we don't.
We have a population collapse. But lefties believe there's too many people. The governments behind the scenes and certain, realistic people, maybe the conservatives as well, are saying, holy shit, we're on the verge of a population collapse because the birth rate is fallen to 0. So, gee, who's going to pay for my retirement if there's no kids to earn any money to pay me in my old age when I'm no longer capable? I did my duty. I was productive to provide for those older than me, and they had a good retirement. And now, in the future, we're not going to have enough kids to do that. This is bad, but she doesn't see that part of it.
No, and so, I'm looking at this profile going, I really don't want anything to do with this person because I can already tell that they're going to be they're not even really going to be a themselves. They're going to be acting out an ideology. It's I was talking about this with my dad recently, that when we talk about people who are woke, it's almost as if they're when they're ideologically possessed. That's almost a real thing. Like they are not even really fully themselves. There's this this spirit taking over and speaking for them in their virtue signaling. And so I'm like, I don't want that in my life. Because for me, that, like, no matter what the ideology is, the value to me is to not ever be that kind of person. And so to have that at all is not good for me. And I don't want to be married to it.
Yeah, well, their minds are like concrete, all mixed up and permanently set.
Yeah. Oh, I've encountered it many times.
Yeah. Well, shall we check the last one? The last one is very funny, guys.
Just a good one.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah. Okay.
I was gonna say, I only sent 4. This should be it. Okay, so
well, let me say it this way. She's looking for the one.
Yeah, no, that spirit is very definitely
she has to sample many. She will know the one. He's the someone who wipes the cum off me, doesn't just throw me the towel. Man, when she finds that guy, he's the one.
Yeah, so she's looking for a slave here who will basically clean her butt for her.
I mean, obviously I did not try to engage with this person.
Sure. I don't blame you, David.
I mean, how do I put it? She's a Pacific Northwest 3. So I didn't really find her that attractive, and then I see this, and I'm like, yeah, no, I can already tell that you are this young woman is a crass person, also thoroughly used up.
Yeah.
Like this is a woman who has slept around enough to be crass publicly.
You think she has a proverbial 1,000-cock stare?
Most likely. I don't remember the rest of her profile at the top of my head, but I believe there were several pictures where I'm like, you look like you've seen a penis or two.
Yeah.
And right up close.
And well, they view themselves attractive. They view themselves as tens. All of them are supermodels.
Yeah.
In their minds, I mean.
In their minds.
How could you be in the Pacific Northwest? Because I seen palm trees in the background.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing I get a lot too. Where there's also just scam profiles. and
Or-
you'll see. I mean, it could just be pictures from like a vacation or something, but oftentimes, because a lot of these girls do travel, that is
what does travel mean?
There's been a couple where I'm like, there's a non-zero probability that how do I put this? A Middle Eastern man probably did something rather horrendous to you on a vacation somewhere that he was paying for.
Or she went to Mexico.
Yeah, there's that too.
For the experiences.
Of course.
Yes, we went to Tulum to find ourselves.
Uh-huh.
Huh?
Yeah. Well, that's the last one, guys.
So, where should a young man go to find a decent woman to date?
That is a loaded question, because oftentimes the answer, particularly from the stereotypical Christian conservative male influencer, is that they should just go to church.
Yeah.
Because these guys, and again, it's a matter of what you experience. These guys see all these unmarried young women in their local church community and going, well, all these girls are here and they seem nice.
Mm-hmm.
What I often find is that when you actually talk to the guys who are saying that, one-on-one without the camera on, they're not putting up any public persona, is that they don't actually interact with these women enough to know what they're like behind closed doors. And I can think of it. At my church, there are 2 young women who are single, relatively close to me in age. And there's been nothing said between me and them, but in terms of, going out and trying to get to know each other better and starting potentially dating. But part of what it is I got the impression that I was not supposed to be interested in them spiritually. And it's hard to explain that to some people, because they do go, well, they're just single. You should go talk to them. And I'm like,
who gave you that? Did they give you that vibe, or the church?
They, in interacting with them, very vaguely, was just, I get the sense from you that there's something off that is not something I should be engaged with relationally.
You sensed that, or they gave that vibe to you?
They gave that vibe. They gave that vibe to me, and I interpreted it that way.
Okay.
And what happened with both of those young women is that actually my mother, because I go to the same church as my parents, my mother met them at a Bible study, and these are women that mom was like, hey, you should go out and introduce yourself and
Mm-hmm.
personally, not just in a group setting, and try and get to know them. And then one evening with them, my mom came back and was like, no, don't. What happened? It's like they have no sense of being dependent.
Mm-hmm.
In general.
Feral women. Yeah.
Well, it's not even just feral. It's just like they have everything that they think they need. And so they don't actually see the need for a guy to be in actual authority over them and be a provider for them. They've been able to achieve that on their own. They've got their house, they've got their job, and they're doing their life. They may not necessarily be engaging in, shall we say, immoral behavior in their personal life. That's not the point. The point is that they have no actual need for a guy in their life. They've been able to find that on their own. And so they don't, when it comes down to it, they're going to be much more difficult to be in a relationship with, because they don't actually need you.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, okay, and that's a very hard thing to unpack for anyone just circumstantially going, well, there's 2 single women over there. Why aren't you talking to them? Like, I already got the inside baseball. They don't need me.
That's true of virtually all women.
Mm-hmm.
So in the last resurgence stream, I came to the conclusion that no, you can't have equality. And everybody says, well, you mean equality of outcome. We should have equality of opportunity. No, no, that's a disaster too. You give women the equality of opportunity. Now they go to college and they get debt and they get a good job. You know what? They don't need a man.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? A woman that doesn't need a man is not going to be a good wife, because you need this hierarchy in the relationship. And sometimes, maybe not sometimes, all the time, the vast majority of the time, when there's a rough spot, the only thing that might keep a woman there in the marriage is her need and lack of other options.
Yeah.
So in order for the species, humanity, to continue and have kids, you have to deprive women of opportunity. Because if you give them opportunity, it's like you're empowering them to think they're going to be like men. And as soon as they don't need a man, they won't be listen to a man. And you know what? This isn't good for women.
Yeah, it's not good.
Because they're going to discard men. And you know what? They're going to grow old with box wine and cats.
Yeah, that's what I predict.
Because she didn't need a man. She had too many options. And that will ultimately lead to a bad outcome.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Go ahead, David. Sorry.
This is that has been one of my major problems when everyone's like, well, just go to a church. And I've got family members like, well, if your church doesn't have these women, you should come to my church. And I'm like, I've heard about your church. I don't want those women.
Yeah.
Because I can already see how that would play out. And I've met some of them.
Watch, David, we are going to have more women for you here in the red pill, in the manosphere.
Right.
Soon they will all wear the red pill mask.
Oh, God.
They will all pretend like they emphasize with men. They understand men, right?
And then behind closed doors, they'll say anything they want to the guy's face when no one's looking.
Exactly.
I've seen all of that, and I don't find it very interesting. And it's the thing that I find interesting, because I've people in our family who they're, oh yeah, you come meet this girl who I think she's really great, and then I meet them. And, okay, let's put it this way: there is a girl out there who I said, fine, I will humor you, and I will meet this person. And this was several years ago. This was before the pandemic, and I'll see where it goes. Spoke to her for a few months, went out on one date. We saw each other in other settings and whatnot, and talked a bunch. As far as I know, after that, our family members who introduced me to this young woman, they don't talk to her anymore. Because what happened is they saw behind the mask when she actually interacted with me the way she actually interacts with men, not what she told them. But the thing is like they just said, okay, that's just one singular thing. The rest of my friends are good. And I'm like, okay, how many times are we going to go through this? Because you set me up with someone who absolutely burned me. And it's good that you're supporting me in that and not her.
Yeah.
Family. But man, am I going to be hesitant the next time you say, oh, I've met this, we've got
Amazing
this girl, she's great.
girl. You should
I'm like,
meet
I've
her.
heard this before. You're going to have to understand that I'm a little bit tentative.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she may be fine. She may be great. Here's what you need to know. You need to be prepared for losing more friends. Because for whatever reason it is, this is just me in particular, I seem to bring out the worst in people. I was actually asked by a coworker. It's like, well, because we've been talking about cross training across different positions, and one of my coworkers says, well, hey, why don't you? Is there any chance maybe you learn this particular position? And the position is a customer service one. And I'm like, I kind of just backed out of the conversation, but it was like the thought that occurred to me was like, no. I'm not someone who should be in a customer service position because I bring out the worst in people. That's not saying like, oh, like, oh, woe is me, everyone's mean to me. It's just like, no, like I have a history in my life of when I interact with some people, I just somehow there's something I say that they just like it brings out everything behind
Blows
the
them
mask.
up, yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, I don't want to be a representative of the business if that's going to be what I get.
Yeah, you just are willing to speak the truth.
I don't tolerate
their ass and telling them whatever they want to hear.
I don't tolerate BS very well.
Yeah, same here. I managed to piss off a lot of people. And yeah, even including some close friends. Like some of them, they reached out and they told me, you are so intimidating. And I'm like, good. So that's what you need.
I just have one small piece of advice for young men.
Go ahead.
It's not going to be good. It's not going to be useful at all. It really isn't. Okay. Yes, where should you go to find a good woman? Well, the first trait is you need to observe a young woman who respects her father.
Yes.
Okay, just wherever you find a young woman or a middle-aged woman who's respecting her father, which means you have to see the daughter and the father there together and her respecting him and you have to actually observe her behavior, see if she has the virtue of humility. Now, where can you find this? I don't know. I have in mind one instance where I saw this. Okay, I'm not sure I want a woman. So I haven't done anything about it. I might at some point. But here's the deal. You have to be conscious. You have to have situational awareness. So wherever you find a woman with her father, look at the interaction. That's going to tell you more than anything else. And you know what? Give up on the dating apps. They're a cesspool. It's a crapshoot. And you know what? You're going to be judged and you're not going to be successful. And then when you meet this ideal woman on paper, it's just, no, our personalities clash, which is fine.
Yeah, that's normal.
Guys, I have a question for you. Since a few men might actually start following your advice and look into the intersexual dynamics and whether a daughter respects her father, is it possible to fake respect?
I would say it's possible to fake anything. While Steve was saying that, I was thinking of an example of what doesn't look good, and this was not fake, so that this doesn't really answer your question, Elena.
Okay.
But the one of the last relationships I was ever in, like this girl was my girlfriend. I went over, I was much younger, so it's been a while since I've actually been in a relationship, but and I might have talked about this story in private, but this is just So you might have heard this before, Elena.
Mm-hmm.
I went over to her place for the first time. She was living with her parents at the time. I was just out of college, and I met her dad, I met her mom, and I met one of her sisters. She had two sisters. I only met one of them. The mother ruled that house with an iron fist. The guy her dad, I would describe as just almost a nothing. Like, he was there, you could tell he was there, but there's just, it's, absent but present.
Yeah.
Which just sounds like an oxymoron, but it's like his body was there, and he would interact with people, but there just wasn't much of that actual human being force there. And the women in the house ruled the show. The mom spoke before the dad and cut over him all the time, and and he just sat on the couch watching TV. And I'm just like, this is not what I grew up with. But at the time, I was fairly mature, and I didn't know how to describe it. But was looking back, I'm like, that should have been my biggest red flag, that relationship was not going to last, and it didn't. Because
let me comment there. No matter that woman, whoever she was, doesn't matter how Christian she is, how Bible believing, how much she loves Jesus, how much she goes to church, how much she talks about being a good wife, she will absolutely not be a good wife, because her experience is in the family dynamics that she grew up in. She will try and reproduce that. And if you try to take the leadership role in any relationship, marriage with her, she will not submit to your authority, because her mind has trained her. Her experience has trained her that the woman is the authority. Do not marry such a woman.
Oh, no. I did not. What I would say is that, yes, that this does happen in conservative households. This was not one of those. I believe the family was mostly lapsed Mormons, but not conservative at all, fairly liberal.
Okay.
She presented herself to me as wanting to have a traditional, quote unquote, relationship, and but that facade fell off about 3 months in.
And guys, I think they might actually be genuine in wanting that traditional relationship. Now that we've been talking about it and I think about it, they might actually want it, but they don't know how, because this is not what they've been taught. This is not how they've been raised.
Well, and what I would say, particularly in her case, is that the idea of a traditional relationship was something that, it was a foreign concept to her. She hadn't lived it. And the version that she believed was a quote unquote conservative relationship or traditional relationship was a uniform. It was a mask, for sure, and that she could put on and try and convince me that she was of that type. But it was sort of like, it was almost, she wanted to just live a caricature of a 50s housewife. And she didn't really want that at her core. We had our last conversation where I ended up breaking up with her. She made it very clear that that's not actually what she wanted. So I will give her some credit for, saying that and being clear on that. But it was very informative for me to go, okay, I have to be very careful, because there are people out here, and it seems to be more common than I initially thought, who are trying to present something to the people around them in order for those people to like them, whether it's just as friends or in, close relationships. And so it's just like, no, I need to be more discerning in these people that I'm interacting with. Otherwise, I might get, snookered into into a relationship that I don't actually want to be in. because the vision I got of myself is like, okay, I'm sitting there listening to this girl talk about what she actually wants. It's like, okay, in 10 years, I'm probably going to look like her dad. You know, a nothing human being sitting in a chair while the women in my life are saying absolutely horrendous things about me, and I can't defend myself. Like, I don't want that.
That's true. But the women who get in those situations are not happy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very definitely.
The woman who controls her husband is not happy.
Yep.
Her mom was actually like, when I met her, I'm like, I didn't understand at first because, you know, I was 22 at this point, just fresh out of college. And at the time I'm just trying to be, you know, nice, respectful human being. But I'm looking at this woman, I'm like, you are actually a very bitter human being. And I don't know why. And then you know, as I was hanging out with them more and saw more of just the general home life, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And this isn't what I want to be. And the initial, you know, impression I got from this girl at the time was that she didn't want that either. She, like, whenever stuff was going on in the house, that her mom was getting on her dad's case about something, kind of being, you know, cranky bitch to her husband. And I look over at, you know, my girlfriend at the time, and she's just like rolling her eyes at this, like she didn't really like it. And I'm like, no, you're used to this. And you're not defending your dad at all, which tells me something. You don't respect him.
Yeah.
So are you going to respect me in this relationship? And what it turned out was no. It was, I'm going to have my my favorite views and ideologies and my positions on how I get to behave in a relationship. And you don't get to tell me what those should be. And this came up specifically in the conversation because it was something that I was asking for, essentially, was you don't get to ask me to compromise on any of my beliefs.